Hi, I'm Dvlce, head engineer here at the Basement Recording Studio, and today I wanted to talk about the three most common types of microphones. So, first of all, what are the three types of microphones? We've got dynamic, condenser, and ribbon. Let's start with the most common, dynamic. This is a Shure SM58. It is the most common dynamic microphone. You've probably used one of these in your lifetime. So how does it work? Well, pretty much, there's just a little thing with a magnet in there. And when you talk, you're moving the
diaphragm, which moves the coil.
And as you move the
coil,
that turns into electrical signals. And those electrical signals get sent down here, out of there, in through the cable and into your interface and all that. And that's how these guys work. And now, what this means pretty much, because they're just, a solid magnet sitting in there, they're pretty hardy. You can just toss this guy around, which I'm not going to do, but you could, and it would be perfectly fine. You'd have an okay time. You can also get really, really loud with these guys. Put it right up to a guitar cab kind of loud, right there, just fucking super loud. And so, as that example would lead you to believe, these are pretty much best suited for live scenarios or, genres where you might be getting a little rowdy. And so what that means is basically drums, guitars, handheld vocals where the dude's getting real wah, 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 or, bah, or other things. There is also, a whole lot of other dynamic microphones. Of course, the SM7B is another big example, and I'm just gonna list them. You can stop the video and read. Boop. Okay, next. Next is a condenser microphone. There you go. This is a condenser microphone. It is a Rode NTK. Now this one's a little bit special, but we'll talk about that in a second. It's not the eyeball that, it's not only the eyeball that makes it special, though chaotic eyeballs are pretty cool.
Not that bad. A lot of money though. If you have a well-shaped room,
Okay, so basically there's a very thin metal, it's called a diaphragm, and then there's a piece of metal that is electrically charged behind it, and the front piece goes woobly, woobly, woobly when you tack into it, right in there. And that, it just turns that into sound because it goes back and forth and it turns into a wave, and that wave turns into sound. Now, what does this mean? When would we use this? Well, these are mostly used in studio environments or environments where you have a decent amount of control over the noise that's going on around you to a certain degree. Obviously, this is not a hard rule. Yeah, there's a lot of condensers being used in live music and obviously in non-music applications, but I'm not even talking about that right now. But basically, they're very sensitive, at least much more sensitive than dynamic microphones. And what this means is that they capture a wider frequency range. And so this could be useful, for example, if you want to make sure that you're capturing as much of the sound as possible of, say, a singer or a guitar being softly picked. Something that's gentle, not too loud, and will be picked up nicely without too much noise on one of these microphones. So I mentioned this has something special with it. This is the Rode NTK. It has a whole tube system. I'm not even gonna get into this in this video. We're gonna do we could do another video on that. But basically it is a condenser from Rode. They have the NT1, the NT1A, whole lot of great, relatively budget options. Other condensers that you may have heard of are the Neumann U47, the U87, the U67. Neumann, very expensive, so maybe don't get that if you don't have a lot of money, and if you do, maybe give it to me. Yeah, so those are basically condensers. There's a whole lot of others. Again, screen, list, Bing, pause, next. Okay, finally, we've got ribbon microphones. Now, these are much less common. You're probably not going to be using these on a daily basis or very often. Basically, ribbon microphones are all in one. So dynamics and condensers both have two separate, discrete parts, and one moves in relation to the other, and that is what generates your signal. In a ribbon microphone, you just have a single sheet suspended in a magnetic field. And so as you speak, this magnetic field changes, and the changes in the magnetic field get turned into electrical energy, which gets turned into a wave, and waves are sound. And that concludes how a ribbon microphone works. What are they good for, you may be asking? Well, a lot of people say they have a very, analog sound. And basically what that means is it's a little darker. They don't capture very high frequencies to the degree that condensers do at all, and sometimes not even to the degree that a dynamic does. But the reason you might like this is because it gives you a much more muted, warm, sort of antique, analog, vintage sort of feeling. For the most part. A lot of modern ribbon microphones will, just get the whole frequency range, and it's they're pretty great. They're just good microphones, from what I know. Again, screen, list. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.